So I see some familiar faces, but let's just talk about the elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
Not only do you have one of the most incredible rare guitars on the planet, this is number 22, I
Number
hear.
22, yeah.
Good Lord.
It was Dennis Herring's, made for Dennis when he was
Studio
playing with
cat?
Bonnie Raitt. Well, he was touring with Bonnie in the 70s, and then he wound up becoming a really great producer and did a lot of awesome records. Modest Mouse and Cracker, Camper Van Beethoven, and you know, just cool stuff like that. And this was, I guess, his main guitar amp in the studio. Number 22.
Nobody's backup.
Pretty early, right? And I think this is the first. There's a presence knob on the back, right next to the standby switch, and then there's a master volume here. And it looks to me like Dumble didn't have room to put his Overdrive Special sticker because of adding that at the last minute. And I think if you look, all the ODSs afterward had a master and a presence knob, so he must have liked that feature.
What it did.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, people have said all kinds of crazy stuff about these, and yeah, I mean, part of it is like sort of the baggage that you bring into playing through an amp or with a guitar like that. But that also counts for me, you know, like when I go into a big studio and I think, well, this record was made here, that record was made here, I better do something worth a damn, you know. And if you're on stage with this and a 1959 Les Paul and you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be really embarrassing for you. So you have to step up the game,
right.
You know. But it just sounds perfect. I mean, there's so much note, even when it's really driven, you know, and there's so much clarity. And, you know, the fact that he uses like the 200 watt EV speaker means that everything's coming from the circuit. So like, you know, the designer, Dumble himself, is in control of everything that you're hearing. He's not overdriving a speaker. So you don't have to worry about finding the right.
200 watts.
Yeah. So, you know, all the rest of these, the Marshalls and everything, they work on a lower wattage speaker than what you're pushing through it, and that creates some of your drive.
Right.
But this one doesn't, so you can just get so much more clarity, you know, because you have a clean tone. Like if this clean volume knob goes all the way off, even if you're on the drive channel, you don't hear anything at all. So you have to have the clean volume up, and then you add the drive on top of that. And I think it really makes a difference to the clarity of the amp. Michael figured out how to get this in the rig, and you know, we turn that cabinet around back. We don't attenuate this one, do we?
We don't.
No.
Yeah.
The master's good enough that we just don't really have to.
That's the only one we don't attenuate, I think.
Yep.
So just because, I mean, these are so rare, and obviously now a very finite amp, you know. Yeah. All right, so for example, like I've seen them, but like, it's a bright switch, a deep switch, and guitar and mic. Was he making these to sing through?
Well, I think maybe initially that was sort of an idea, but that switch it kept the same function, but it got a different label later on.
Oh, okay.
You know, it became like a rock switch.
Oh, so same circuit, just
like
different.
blues or rock, basically. Yeah, no jazz or rock.
Okay.
That's what it turned into, but it's the same circuit. But yeah, what else can you say, Michael? You figured out how to get the channel switching to work with the MIDI rig.
Yeah.
That was pretty inventive of you.
That was a fun one.
How did you figure that one out?
I mean, it's just a 4-pin XLR going to the back, which was, you know, obviously those are fun to find, but you know, on the road anyway, you don't see a whole lot of them in the wild. But you know, it was my main concern is that on the foot switch they were sending voltage down the line to hit the LED on the foot switch, which you also can't get to the guts of because
it's carved out of wood.
Because it's carved out of wood.
Yeah, he just made it out of a piece of wood.
Yeah,
my man.
So the foot switch was a mystery, and I needed to do something with the voltage that was coming down for the LED. So where it hits the rack, there's an LED back there that's burning off that power, and everything else is just I use a function switch on one of the RJM switchers to trigger it. It's all relay based inside the amp, so it's pretty easy.
Does that just make you nervous having it out?
No, it made me nervous if some ding dong had it out.
Yeah, no, I get that, but like
it's like I know what I have, and I also know that it's going to have to be repaired at some point. This is pre-goop, which is nice.
That's nice.
Before he started epoxying everything. And there are people here in town who have had them, custom made for them. Who now people like Todd Sharp, who builds his own amps now, and he's had a bunch of these. And there are people, if you can't find somebody to fix your amp in Nashville, it's not going to last you very long anyway.
Right.
No, it doesn't make me nervous, man. I love it. I love it.
Oh.
I'm not gonna, dream my whole life of having the cool stuff and then freak out when I get it.
Yeah.
It's just, you just don't drop it.
I guess nobody buys a Maserati to not drive it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, some people probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. I like my car's got 4 doors. I don't need a boat. I don't need, this is the kind of stuff that I want.
Right.
And it makes me happy. We play a lot of shows, and if you're not careful, if you don't challenge yourself in some way or do something for you, you might get bored with even the best job and the best band, and I don't want that to ever happen. And I'm lucky enough to be able to get some of this kind of gear. So I get it and I bring it on tour and I use it, and then every night it's like, oh, I'm not going to be bored. I got this amp, I got this guitar,
So there's just so much mystique behind these. What do you notice about this amp, whether it's feel or response or sound, that is unlike other amps,
To me, I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand about how the circuit is designed.
Sure.
But to me, the difference comes from getting everything out of here rather than relying on the instability of the speaker. Because a lot of what's, when the amp fell off of Jackie Brinston's car and rock and roll was born, that was because of a ripped speaker. And had it ripped in a different way, it wouldn't have sounded as cool.
Right.
And up until this point, really, everybody had depended on either overdriving the speaker or using something for a way in which it was not designed, like the Wurlitzer effect.
Sure.
Or using a pedal, which Dumble also kind of had a hand in the early fuzz pedals,
Right.
But this, it's controlled, it does what it's supposed to do. I could put any 200-watt speaker and it would sound pretty close to the same. And I just hear so much note, you know, and with the Gibsons especially, I can play a note standing up there at the mic, and it happens every night. If I step in a certain direction, I'll get the right overtone. And if I turn a little too close to it, it's going to hurt everybody in the band, and they look at me like,
come on,
asshole,
Do you have a guitar that you prefer? Is Red Eye a guitar that you love hearing through that amp, or?
All of them are real good through that amp, I'm going to be honest with you. A Strat through a Dumble is a pretty special thing, though. Yeah. And I think that's probably what Dennis was playing, a Fender of some sort when
Bonnie,
when Dumble built that for him. So the Fenders really sort of sing. I mean, the Red Eye through a Marshall there's not
it's also rock and roll.
There's not another percent, that you're going to get out of that. But a Strat, there's a lot of nuances, and this thing seems to clean up and sort of capture all of them,